Good afternoon, everybody in Luxembourg and abroad. This is a very unique and special interview on a theme we haven't talked about before, although LPEA has been pushing forward for charity and social impact initiatives. But we couldn't have done our rounds of 10 minutes without inviting Tonika Hirdman. Hi, Tonika.
Hello.
You're our office neighbor. Unfortunately, we couldn't do this together in the same room. We could have in a way, but we were not sure about the date of where we would be in deconfinement. It's a huge honor to host you because you're a very successful person, at least for the standards of LPEA and the PE for Women, the group of that tries to promote women. Tonika, you're the head of the Fondation de Luxembourg, which we'll talk about what it does. But you managed to juggle a career as a diplomat, as a banker. You were the head of ING in Luxembourg.
ABN AMRO. ABN AMRO.
ABN AMRO. Ooh, I'm going to competition. Sorry. You were a diplomat, started your career in Sweden, and you're also a mom and a wife. So well done, because you're the role model that we're all trying to be.
Well, thank you very much.
And now you're embraced this new career as head of a foundation that's not just a foundation. You'll tell us about it. And we felt at LPEA it's important to host you because part of what private equity investors do and private equity advisors do is also giving back. And there's many ways to give back. And one way you facilitate giving back is through your foundation. So Tonika, you know, we have these 10 minutes during which you would like to answer, if it's okay, 3 questions. And then we have another session of Q&A with the audience or whoever is interested in participating. So I'm sure I didn't say everything about you, but we will learn more during the discussion.
Well, thank you very much for this very kind introduction. I'm very pleased to be here. So thank you for inviting me to this webinar, Rajaa.
Oh, it's super that you're with us. The first question really that I've been thinking about since I first heard about you at House of Finance is Fondation de Luxembourg. The name says it all, but not really. What is so unique about your model of foundation, and what has happened over its 11 years of history that led it to where it is today? And you've been there since day one, right?
Yeah. So I started with the foundation when it was set up by the Luxembourg government and by Le Grand Duchesse Charlotte in 2009. And so we are an umbrella foundation, and that means that our mission is to facilitate philanthropic engagement by accompanying private individuals, but also companies who want to set up their own private foundation under our umbrella organization. And what is unique about this model is perhaps that we are a bridge between, on the one hand, the financial sector and the philanthropists, and on the other hand, the charitable sector. These two sectors, they don't often meet and they don't speak the same language. And we are there to bridge between them. So we have experts in our organization who are in close contact with charitable organizations all over the world. And they can help to guide our donors, so the founders of these foundations, to the most trustworthy charitable partners. And that is important because if you are giving away money, you want to make sure that your money is well used and that it really goes to the end beneficiaries and that it doesn't end up in a large bureaucracy. So that's one thing. The second thing is perhaps that it's a tailor-made approach, which means that any person can set up his own foundation. They decide about the name of the foundation, the purpose, the approach, and the Fondation de Luxembourg will take charge of all the operational aspects, while the donor or the founder sits on the board of his foundation or her foundation, and thereby influencing and controlling it. Mm-hmm. And then perhaps a final aspect is the strong government support that we have. We were founded by the Luxembourg government, and Pierre Gramegna, who is our finance minister, sits on the board of the Fondation de Luxembourg. And that gives credibility, but it also gives continuity, an assurance of continuity.
No, it's a great model that is applicable to many players. But if we narrow it down to specifically private equity. So let's talk of maybe private equity firms who have used you in the past and maybe presently. I don't know if you can give names. And also something we should expand into is LPEA has a group of single family offices that are representing the financial interests of large families. They represent 10 countries. And maybe this is an idea that we could put forward to them. These are also the typical kind of setups that are in, what's in it for them to work with you as opposed to doing it themselves?
Yeah. Well, so if I start with the private equity firms, we have collaborated with major private equity firms like the CVC Capital Partners for the CVC Capital Partners Foundation. We also have, under our aegis, the Mangrove Foundation, which was set up by the Mangrove Capital Partners private equity firm. And in my experience is that it's very interesting to work with these people. They are usually very entrepreneurial, very dynamic, focusing on getting strong results. And many of them have had a lot of success during the past, let's say, 20 years. And they now have this idea to use their knowledge and their money to tackle global issues like poverty, like scarcity of resources, water resources, and so on. And what is interesting with the approach that has been chosen by many private equity firms is that they have this idea to apply the same methodology that they apply in their businesses, but to achieving results in alleviating these global issues. And that's what we call the venture philanthropy approach, which is where you identify clear objectives and you measure continually your achievements in regards to these
Tonika,
objectives.
If I'm a private equity firm, why couldn't I do it alone? And why should I call you? I mean, I'm playing a bit rhetorical question game, but...
It's a very well justified question. And I think the reason why these companies choose to do it with us is that even though they are very experienced, they may not be so experienced in the area of philanthropy. And so we can help them to put them in relationship with the right partners. We can help them with sharing both our network, but also our expertise. And it also can give more transparency to them that they do it in a separate structure, which is Fondation de Luxembourg, so that there is an external partner, which might be interesting in terms of the credibility that that provides to the outside world.
Is this unique in Luxembourg or in Europe? Would you have quote unquote competitors that we can go to as well?
So in Luxembourg, we are the only organization who has this umbrella status. In Europe, there are very few other organizations. Like in France, there is the Fondation de France, but it's a model which is very rare in Europe, actually, especially with this government support, government backing of the foundation. What is actually specific for the Fondation de Luxembourg is that we cover all areas of activity. In other countries, you can find an umbrella foundation, but focused on one specific area, like culture, the arts, or other.
And Tonika, what about families then? Because family offices are bigger and bigger investors in PE. They should also, is it the same way of functioning as with the Mangrove or CVC have done with you?
It's a little bit different. We have many families who have created foundations under our umbrella. So today we have 80 foundations, and many of them are actually families. And one of the motivations of these families is that they see it as a way of educating their kids. yesterday I had a meeting with a well-known Luxembourg family who wanted to set up a foundation, and their idea was that they wanted to involve also the grandchildren in this foundation. So it's actually 3 generations, and it's the grandfather, he's already passed away 20 years ago, and they want to involve the grandchildren so that they will understand the values and the ideas behind also the grandfather who created their wealth that they have now inherited. And I think that's a very beautiful idea.
That's wonderful. All the more so as it's a Luxembourg-born model, and so obviously you mentioned social impact and sustainability. How does the philanthropy that you're recommending or advocating and executing fit with this long-term focus? And I'm trying to see how Luxembourg can play a role as a pioneer in sustainability through also what you're doing. What do you think, Tonika?
Yeah, so sustainability is a very broad concept, and it encompasses corporate social responsibility, sustainable investment, impact investment, but also philanthropy. And Luxembourg is very much investing in this whole area, which is, I think, is a very good choice. Philanthropy and impact investment go really hand in hand. And until a few years ago, foundations were not really thinking about how they were investing their money. We want to change that, because if you're supporting a cause, it's important that you also think about which type of companies that you invest your money. And there's also even an opportunity to further the cause that you are supporting by investing in, for instance, an impact investment fund to reinforce what you are trying to achieve on the project side.
Well, so, I mean, I think after almost 10 minutes passing, I just have many questions also from myself. So I'll move rightly into Q&A because we've learned a lot. Maybe a personal question from our PE for Women group. Tonika, why is such a job after a successful banking and diplomatic career? And how can we use you to inspire our younger talent at LPEA?
Well, why did I choose this job? Well, for me, it was a very natural choice. I was working at as CEO of ABN AMRO at the time when I heard about this opportunity. And I thought it was a fantastic opportunity to do something, first of all, closely related to Luxembourg. And secondly, something that had a wider purpose and also to start a whole new organization. And I think that has been a really, really nice and rewarding endeavor.
What have you been most proud of in 11 years?
Well, it's the many foundations that we are working with. It's their achievements in the end. And
how many do you manage right now?
So right now we have over 80 foundations that we are managing. 80. Wow. So it's quite a lot. And what is so inspiring and motivating is the meetings that we have with these people. These people they have really thought about what is important in life, and they are very interesting to discuss with. And I find it very inspiring to discuss with them. But so also, sorry.
So you're looking forward to the next 10 years. What is your biggest challenge for the foundation, and how can the LPEA and its community of investors and large firms help you thrive further?
Well, I think it's making sure that people who are interested in engaging in philanthropy knows that this possibility exists, because in many countries it's quite complicated to set up a foundation today. But if you do it in an existing foundation infrastructure, you get support, and it's much more simple, at least to start with. So I think the more we can create awareness about that these type of possibilities exist, the more philanthropists we will have, and hopefully we can achieve great things for our world in the future.
Well, we definitely do our best. Tonika, maybe one last question. Which is practically, we are a family or a private equity firm, we want to set up foundation. What happens from that moment when we kind of figure out what we want to achieve in terms of social impact? And how long does it take till we have our foundation set up, and how does the interaction with you happen? I mean, really trying to be very tangible.
Well, usually we the introduction is made through a bank or a financial advisor. So we set up a first meeting together with them, and where we try to understand what is it that they want to achieve, who do they want to involve in their foundation, and what is their purpose. And from there, it can go very quickly. It can take 4 weeks to set up the foundation, which is set up through a contract between the Fondation de Luxembourg and the family. And then we will set up a board of their foundation where they sit and where we will have external members as well, and one representative from the Fondation de Luxembourg, and that is the governing body. So that's where we take the decisions about the budget and the projects to support. And
is there a formal reporting in place then? Yes,
so we will closely follow the projects that will be implemented, always through an external partner, so an NGO typically, or a research organization, or a museum, depending on the type of activity. And that relationship is done through a legal contract, and where we closely follow up and meet with these partners to see that the money is used the way it was intended. And then we will report back to the founder how the money has been used.
I think, Tonika, this is so inspiring. We have a lot of ideas internally to spin this a bit more with our international community. We are definitely on the hook to invite you to a live event, because I think as time goes by with these strange times, we miss each other more and more. So I think next time we meet, we will put you in front of a potential community of foundations, and make sure that we leverage on all the talents and your capabilities to promote this great initiative. I don't know if there's anything you'd like to share with us and the people who are watching us today, but it would be great to have a final word from you.
Well, I think that everybody has the possibility to contribute. You can contribute through your time, through your ideas, and also through your funds, of course. And what my experience from working with so many philanthropies over the last year, it is the pleasure that it gives to the donors themselves to be engaged in the cause that they are supporting, and I think that's not negligible, the pleasure and the happiness that it brings to contribute to the well-being of others.
It's wonderful. You mentioned purpose, and maybe LPEA one day will have its own foundation. Meanwhile, as you maybe know, we have this charity initiative that's very modest and not yet fully structured, but we will take your word on this and welcome you back with a distinguished floor of interested candidates for you. And I'm sure we'll see you in the office in the next days anyway.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a great pleasure discussing with you, and thank you again for the invitation.
Thank you, Tonika. Take good care. Huh? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I think our next interview will be next week, because we still have the whole month of June with interviewees. So Tonika, join us online as well. Have a great week, everyone. Thanks again, Tonika. Great to see you.